Well, Superman has his fortress of solitude, and Bruce Wayne, he's got the Bat Cave, and me, the Menzoid, I've got the Menzoid Man Cave, a place to sit back, chill out, talk about the issues of the day, and I'm pleased to welcome back into the Man Cave Toronto Sun columnist extraordinaire, Simon Kent. How you doing, Simon?
I'm all the better for being flattered like that. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Simon, a big issue in the city of Toronto, and it happens with communities right across Canada these days, is the mayor is hoping to get a big casino in downtown Toronto, and the usual suspects, they're out against it. It's going to be the second coming of Sodom and Gomorrah. Adam Vaughan, the councillor, this is the guy that wanted the bullet ban for the city. He said this will destroy, that was his words, the city. Simon, you've covered this issue. You've looked at casinos going into non-traditional casino markets around the world. Does this mean the end of life as we know it if Toronto gets a
Well,
casino?
Western civilization thankfully still managed to stay upright and vaguely living and breathing in places like Singapore, in places like Malaysia. I mean, these are traditionally conservative societies that haven't been brought to their knees by having casinos. And I use Singapore as an example. They had a really vigorous debate on this for a couple of years, and then they decided, well, we'll go ahead and do it. They have 2 casinos on the waterfront. Crime hasn't risen. In fact, crime is going down in Singapore. The number of local people going to the casinos is actually dropping. Initially, they were interested, and then they've dropped off. So people come from overseas to the casino. And so there's no corresponding rise in crime or the end of civilization, as critics like Adam Vaughan, who gets terribly excited about the prospect of a casino in Toronto, but never bases any evidence for his arguments and just seems to pluck figures out of the air.
Well, you know, the argument from the progressives is, A, it's going to introduce a criminal element to the city that wasn't there, which you just debunked. And secondly, well, you know, what if somebody goes and plays with the milk money, blows the mortgage payment? But I mean, hey, there's an age restriction to casinos. You're an adult. If you know you can't control your gambling,
and let's face it, they can do that now. They can get on a bus here in Toronto. I use Toronto as an example. They can go to Niagara Falls. They can go to the racetrack where there's 2,500 slots. These people live amongst us. These people who gamble live here amongst us in Toronto. But I haven't seen any buildings fall into the sea. Gambling exists, and it's not something I necessarily even enjoy or indulge myself. But I really get sick of the nanny state really intruding so often what we can do, what we can't do, how we can spend our money, and what people approve or disapprove of. Let people make their own life choices.
Oh, absolutely, Simon. I mean, this isn't somebody putting a gun to someone's head and saying you must, you know, bet on black at the roulette table. And I mean, I know there are tragedies of people gambling everything away, but it was on their own volition, right?
But you can travel around the world. You can go to Monte Carlo and see that city hasn't been brought to its knees. If you go into central London, you can go to casinos like Aspinall's and places like this, which you would never guess is a casino off the street, but they're in central London, in Mayfair and places like that. They've been there for over 100 years and the city still functions. There's not wild gunfights in the street, and the same in Singapore, Malaysia. You go to my home city in Sydney, Australia. Every Australian major city has a casino and hasn't brought the country to its knees. Oh,
and Simon, let's not go that far afoot. In our own backyard.
Of course.
There are lottery tickets,
yes.
scratch tickets, slot machines, racetrack.
People can always find a way to be parted with their money in a vague hope of bettering their wager, and it does happen, and people gamble all the time. I find it really hard to equate this argument with the people who would say no, 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 no all the time. Yeah. I think there can be clear benefits. Why not admit gambling happens, build a casino, tax the hell out of the earnings, and put those to the public benefit and the public good? Let's build hospitals and schools and redistribute the wealth.
Exit question, Simon. Yes. If you're a betting man, and I think you are, what do you say? Does Toronto get this casino at the end of the day, or is this a failed gambit?
I think there will be a casino in some form. Okay. You can't be so conflicted as to see what's happening down the road in Niagara or at a race course with all those slots and not say, well, we can do that here in Toronto. It's a matter of having the debate and then having either City Hall at the provincial level saying, let's do it, and this is how we do it. I'd say better than even's chance.
Fantastic. I agree with you. And at the end of the day, I'd rather the money stay in our own backyard than go to some offshore gambling website somewhere where we don't see the benefits of that. Thank you so much, Simon
Always
Kent.
a pleasure. Thank you.
Always a pleasure indeed. And keep it here, folks, to Menzoid Mornings. More coming up right after this.